Today I'm going to be setting up a rimless tank with an under gravel filter built into the back. I did take some glass and I siliconed it into the back. While I was doing this, I did 3D print my own little under gravel filter, which I actually think turned out really well. If anyone wants a video on how that works, or if anyone wants a file for anything, just let me know, but I am very happy with it. This is me installing the air stones into the under gravel filter right now, and as I pull them through, I kind of pull on the air line, which I do have a little hole drilled on top. That way it looks nice and clean, and I just brought it up about 2/3 of the way down. That way it would have good flow. This is some samurai soil that I did find online. I thought I would give it a shot, as well as my fluval stratum. The samurai soil I thought was kind of a nice little change up or a switch up, just because they do say that the actual little soil balls do not break down at all, so we'll kind of see how it goes. Sorry for my son there, he loves this stuff just as much as I do. But the samurai soil was just a little small, so I did put those little fabric bags over my under gravel filter just so they wouldn't kind of fall through, and I figured it would kind of sift out all the water a little bit better after I get it all set up. But I did fill everything up in the back. Like I said, I mixed a little bit with the samurai soil on the bottom and then the fluval stratum on top, as well as I got these nice little pots that I thought would look really good in this tank. The rubber little stickies that you put on the glass, they were all kind of nasty and deformed, so I just threw those in some boiling water, literally just for a couple of seconds, and it brought them right back to life. As I was filling up those pots, I did put the fluval stratum on the bottom and the samurai soil on top. That's just because the samurai soil is much finer than the fluval stratum, and that way it just wouldn't fall through the bottom. But I figured once everything kind of takes off and I do a couple of water changes as this tank grows, things are probably going to get intermixed, so it's just kind of me being a little bit more nitpicky in the beginning, and just trying to make it look nice. But after I did all this, I did end up taking the little pot hanging on the back off. I figured that wouldn't really give enough plants room to grow up. I might put it back in, but later in the video you will see that I take it off, and I might just use it for a different tank. But I did try to make all the air lines nice and tidy in the back, but this is how it's looking right now. I think it looks really good. The cholo wood, I did boil it for 45 minutes, maybe even a little more. It did float some more, but one thing that I do like about these bigger pieces of cholo wood, not only that you're able to see shrimp, but you can put some rocks in there, and that helps it kind of float down to the bottom. I definitely sped it up through this part along with the rest of the video, but I have a little pump that I keep in my reserve water of RODI, and I put one of my sponge filter sponges over the end, as well as drilled some holes into the tubing. That way I can throttle it back with my on-off barb fitting, and if I do even put it on almost kind of full bore, it still doesn't really disturb stuff much. So once again, if anyone wants to see a video of how I made that, I am planning on doing another one for my tanks on my other floor. But so far everything's looking good. I use Salty Bees mineral. This is going to be for a Caridina tank, of course. Normally I remineralize the water while it's in the holding tank, but since we just moved, I wasn't able to really get my second tank going, so it just wasn't to the correct TDSs at the moment. So I figured since I'm going to be letting this tank cycle for a little bit, I really don't have to worry about it. I just added it around the area that I wanted it, and I figured after I leave it for a while I can measure the TDS and kind of see where it's at. But the TDS in my holding tank was around 30, and after I filled it up it was only about 5 more, so I added it until it was around 90 TDS, which once I figure out what kind of Caridina shrimp I want, I can kind of remineralize my own water in a different holding tank and then just do a good water change before I add everything to it. all these plants that I am adding into the tank, I have a plant grow out tank. It's a 55 gallon that I kind of put all my trimmings in and stuff. But, you know, I just really am not good with all my plants and the names of them quite yet. If anyone wants kind of a description, I can find the names of the plants online. That red stem plant, I'm not sure how well it's going to do in this tank, just because it does not have CO2, at least it doesn't have it at this moment, but I think everything looks good. I am going to be adding some moss while it's cycling, as well as all these other things that I have on the table here. The Indian almond leaf acts as kind of like a normal disease fighting thing as the tannins are released into the water, as well as the shrimp feeding tube that I have. I really like these just because as you feed your shrimp, you can watch them, and if they don't eat all the food right away, you can easily take it out, and it just keeps the tank looking really good. But I did also add a shrimp hut as well as a couple of the alder cones. And those shrimp huts, you know, I normally don't like putting these man-made things into my tank, but as I was kind of looking at it, since it's kind of a small minimalistic tank with my pots and then the under gravel filter in the back, I figured if any tank, this is going to look good. But there's me showing the TDS. It's about 96 right now. This was after the water was kind of flowing for a little bit. So I'm pretty happy, but once again, I'm going to be letting this tank cycle for a while, so I'm just going to kind of let it chill out, and right before I add something, I'm going to do a decent water change just to swap out all the water. I also put some Bacter AE in the water, and what that's going to do is it's going to help promote some biofilm as well as some stability, just because stability kind of helps that new tank syndrome. It's just going to help with beneficial bacteria. But this is all stuff, once again, I am going to let this tank cycle and get some good biofilm and make sure all the ammonia is cycled out of the soil. But I just kind of wanted to jumpstart everything and get everything kind of in the area that we wanted. But so far, I think everything's looking pretty darn good. My under gravel filters are working awesome. The little box in the back looks great. My pots, I think, look good. I will be adding more plants to it. I can make some shorts as I kind of do that. But all in all, I think this project was really fun, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. If you guys like that video, please follow and subscribe for more stuff.